everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Canadian Gamers. Happy New Year to all of you. I'm with Steven, and I have just discovered that Taylor Swift cannot dance for the life of her. A friend of mine sent me a video, and he was like, oh man, you gotta check this out. This girl's got the moves like Jagger. And I watched the video, and I was laughing non-stop. I don't listen to Taylor Swift
you?
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I listen to like AC/DC and like 80s music. That's pretty much what I do. I am an 80s child that never grew up. And anyways, it was just hysterical. God, man, she is so awkward. I've never seen something like that. It's
Can
like
you sing me a bit of her song? I'm not sure who she is.
She's the girl that she's like. It's all pop songs. I don't know any of them. Like
title. Just give me a title.
Well, here, wait a sec. Let me YouTube.
Yeah, don't make sure there's no sound because we'll get copyrighted.
Oh, that's true, eh? Yeah. All right, let's go. YouTube Taylor Swift. You're gonna recognize all of these, man. Okay, we've got Out of the Woods, Wildest Dreams, Bad, Shake It Off.
Shake it off, shake it off. All right. I know that song. That's the first one I recognize. All right, so yeah, those are awesome songs, man. Awesome.
Yeah, she's got a good voice. I'll give her that.
Can't dance apparently.
Nope. She makes me look like Michael Jackson.
Well, you are actually. I've seen you dance in the LA once, and man,
you remember that?
Oh yes, I do.
I remember someone knocking on a door like a lunatic.
And I remember another person swimming in one of the hotels, like pond there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no. But what clip are you talking about? Like a video clip or just heard?
Yeah, it was a video clip from. I think it was that Shake It video there.
That's weird that they'd make a video clip of her dancing like not very good. I don't know.
Well, it's kind of funny because that particular video, and yeah, it's that one. They have like professional dancers, and anytime she goes to get into like a dance move, they cut to a professional.
So they cut to like a Jarrod Nichols type.
It's hysterical. Anyways, so I thought that was
if anybody wants proof of our dance skills, they should check our Connect coverage that we did at E3 2009, 2008? And not that there's a video of you dancing, but there's one of me dancing.
Oh, there's one of you dancing.
I think it got like YouTube's biggest sensation that year. Like it got at least 1,000 views or not. Something like
probably actually. Hey, no joke. You probably did.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that.
Well, I outside of that, I just found a group buy. Have you ever heard of those or no?
A group buy. No clue what that is.
All right. Well, on message boards, particularly for like retro stuff, like retro gaming and whatever, sometimes you'll get like a seller from China or Japan or where have you that will often say like, hey guys, you know, I stumbled onto 500 copies of Super Mario RPG.
Okay.
Or something like that. And he's like, well, let's do a group buy whereby the more people that buy a copy, the cheaper the individual copies go. So it starts off at, say, I'm making all of this up, but say, I don't know, $80 a copy, but if 20 people go, there's 75. If 100 people go, there's 70, and so on and so forth. Well, someone has just done that. I put in an information post because it was posted on November 18th, which was obviously a long time ago. So it's most likely the guy's going to get back to me and say, sorry, dude. But it says, because the title says that everything now is packed up and ready to ship. So I'm pretty sure it's all done, right? But anyway, whatever. The thing is that what this was for is for a Poly Game Master 2, including Dodonpachi, oh god, I can't even pronounce it. It's Dodge, is basically what people call it. Sort of like the Mushi Musha there. Musha Mushasha.
Mushasha.
Oh,
Mufasa.
there you go, Mufasa. Now that's a good movie. Anyways, so the guy was like, "Yeah, I've got like a shitload of PGM2 arcade boards. They're basically like Neo Geos, okay? It's basically a cartridge-based system." And he's like, "I got Dodonpachi Dodge and Oriental Legend 2, and well, no, that's it. That's right, the three things." And normally these go for about $200 a pop, so that'd be $600 for the whole lot. And the guy, because of the group buy, all three for $285. I was like, wow, that's a really good deal, because of how many people like went in and bought the thing. So I hope the guy gets back to me, but I don't think I'm going to be lucky. What's cool about that, if you know nothing of it, which I'm going to assume you know nothing of it, is that the Poly Game Master 2 was pretty much the last cartridge-based arcade hardware before they moved on to just basically taking a PC. And Dodonpachi, that version of Dodonpachi was released 5 years ago. To give you an idea how new it is, it's from 2010. There was one more cartridge-based arcade platform that was released called the Poly Game Master 3 or the PGM3, but it was not supported by anybody. It basically has an HD version of Knights of Valor 3, which was released on the PGM2, except that it displays in HD. That's the only thing. And that particular arcade hardware is really not worth buying, because it only has one game, and the one game is simply the game that was on the other arcade platform, except that it's in HD, so it's totally not worth it for a guy like me. But the PGM1 and the PGM2 are definitely two arcade systems that I've been looking for, so being able to get in on this group buy would be absolutely awesome.
Yeah, no, and just this makes me think of something I wanted to talk about a bit. So, because you're talking about you almost got lucky with that arcade system, or you might get it. You said that the post was from November 18, right? Well,
Yeah.
I got lucky. Was it yesterday or the day before that I texted you about Devil's Third?
I don't know. It was no, I think I was home. No, wasn't it Sunday?
Probably Sunday. Yeah, I think it was Sunday. And basically, we've talked about this in the latest episode of Fanboys, but Devil's Third is a mediocre Wii U game that got a very limited run in North America and is going for insane prices on eBay. And although the prices seem to be going down every day, and I'm not sure if it will stay that high, I've been really wanted to get that game because, hey, if there's one system that I'm collecting for right now, it's the Wii U. Like, I don't really care about the other systems, I just want to play games, but for some reason I have some kind of strange affinity with the Wii U. I really like it, and I think that it might, it's obviously not going to be Nintendo's most successful console of all time, but I think it's going to be their but their hidden gem at one point, because everybody talks shit about it, but I think it has some of the best library Nintendo has produced since the Super Nintendo, maybe. But whatever. What I wanted to say was that I was looking on eBay for Devil's Third basically every day, and I never found. At some point I was like, okay, if this doesn't go down, I'm ready to spend double what the price is. So I was like, if I can find an auction that ends at around 100 and goes to 110 with shipping, I'll bite. I was prepared to do that eventually. But then, just for fun, I went to Amazon.ca. I typed in Devil's Third, and it was right there available for $74.99. And I bought it right away, and then I texted you, and you responded like 5 hours later. And I even commented on our podcast saying to people that was interested. And apparently it didn't last very long because you said it was already sold out, right?
Yeah.
And the problem I have with that is I'm afraid, if I would have been an asshole, what I would have done there was I would have bought all the stock they had, because they probably didn't have that many. And I could have resold it. That's what I wanted to talk about, what was scalping, because that's something that really, really not disturbs me, but I find annoying is people buying stuff and trying to resell it for a profit. Like, simply because, like, for what I think is that, first, it's not that big. I don't think you could live off that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you know more about that than I do. But I imagine that to be able to live off that, you'd have to have a very, very, very high inventory. And you'd have to be prepared to take loss, because even with this game, it seems like it's turning around that people who did buy tons of copies to flip them, I think will get screwed eventually, because the price, like I said, are going down. And this might indicate that there's going to be a second print. So I'm quite curious what you think about the scalping issue.
Okay, well, first thing about the Wii U, I just wanted to say, I think this is going to turn into Nintendo's Dreamcast. I think it's going to be a highly sought-after system, like in the coming years, and I think games as a whole are going to be exceedingly rare for the Wii U. So if you do want to collect for the Wii U, or you're interested in the Wii U, either get all your games digitally or start buying the discs now, or in like the next, say, like 6 months, because once these games go in bargain bins and things like that, when the NX is really truly officially announced, jump on the Wii U stuff, because they will not be doing future prints of certain games. Like new Super Luigi U is a good example. That's another one that is getting harder and harder and harder to find on disc. But as for like the scalping or the reselling or the whatever you want to say, it's really annoying if you're a gamer or if you're a collector. Either one, it's effing annoying as hell. To a guy like me, where certain series or certain games, I like to have the collector's edition because I like to display it. I like to have the little statues and stuff like that. It's the inner geek in me that really likes that stuff. And you cannot imagine how pissed off I get when I go to your Amazons, Best Buys, EB Games, or in the States it's GameStop, right?
Yep,
no.
Yep.
Yeah, GameStop. GameSpot is the site. Anyway, so I get furious when like a company announces like, oh, okay, like we're gonna make a good example, like here, Fallout Pip-Boy Edition, for example, right? So like, let's say I wanted to pick that up, like when it was originally announced. Well, no, too bad, because the first jackass that got on Amazon pre-ordered 45 of them and then sold them all for $300. Like, I hate that. I absolutely hate that. And it's retarded, because then people are essentially forced to pay these astronomical prices, or you just do without it. And that's what I did. There's certain games that I'm like, you know what? Well, screw it. I wanted to buy this game, but I wanted that particular edition because I wanted to display this little goodie or something like that. And now I can't do that. So I'll wait until the physical copy or the digital copy is like, half price off, because part of the reason I was going to pay, let's say it's $90 or $100, that's only like $30 more expensive than the Canadian version of the game, is because I wanted to get that bonus. So now I'll be like, well, you know what? The incentive just isn't there. And Uncharted is another one. Like for Uncharted 4, I've got the Ultra Omega Deluxe Super Hyper Edition on pre-order from Amazon.com. I received 2 gift cards for $100 from Amazon.com from 2 of my American friends. Oh, and actually Cranberry did the same thing, but that I used for something else. So the game ended up costing me nothing. And it sucks, because that one, I'm not sure if it's still available or not, but I guarantee you that's going to disappear in like 2 seconds. Fire Emblem Fates is another one.
Yeah, that's the one I wanted to mention, because it's basically unavailable. It never has been, in Canada at least. Like every site, Amazon.ca, bgames.ca, Best Buy, Future Shop, you name it, they either is sold out or they don't even have it on feature. And it's frustrating. The same thing happened when the Nintendo released the Majora's Mask new 3DS XL. Like as soon as it was day one, it was sold out. And guarantee you that 75% of people who bought it wanted to flip it. And that sucks, because people who actually want the system can't have it. And
exactly.
I just wish that like, I think that's what's happening with Devil Stars is that when situations like this would happen, I wish that Nintendo or Sony or whoever would just put more stock. Like maybe have a system when you pre-order something like that, a collector's edition, you need to pay it in full and it's non-refundable. That way it would guarantee that people who buy it, like if there's too much stock and it loses value, like too bad. Like I know that collector's edition, like it will lose a bit of its, I don't know how to say it, but
it's appeal.
It's appeal, exactly. If there's too much of it, but at the same time, if the demand is there, I don't know. It's just like the same thing is happening with the Gold Mega Man Amiibo. It's only available as part of the Mega Man Legacy Collection, and as soon as that was available, it was sold out, and it sucks because like that's the only one. That's the only way to get that particular Amiibo, and I don't get why they just don't make more. And again, they could make more. Maybe it will be picked up right away by scalpers, but
no. But you know what, man? There are ways of doing this. And I mean, let's be honest. Companies are in this for money, and if they're not in this for money, then they're retarded. I'm sorry, but like Capcom isn't like in the best financial situation of their lives. Like, I would release 5 million of those things. If the demand is there, it's a collector's edition. There's nothing wrong with having 5 million collectors. You know, like, I don't understand what the point is of limiting some of this stuff to like a ridiculous level. Like, I get it for Xseed Games. I get it for NIS America. I get it for those type of companies, or even Atlas that wants to release like a limited run of a certain game. I get it. But like, it's like releasing, say, like, I don't know, a deluxe version of The Legend of Zelda. Like, that would be retarded. It would be utterly stupid to do that and have like, oh, well, you know, we made like 100,000 of them, and yeah, that's it, we're good. That doesn't make any sense, because then your scalpers, like you say, they're just going to jump in. There are ways, though. What they can do, like, I like some of the things that Square Enix is starting, where they're like, hey, guess what? The limited edition is only available through us. That's it. Not on Amazon, not on Best Buy, not on anything like that. And just because of that, it prevents so many people from purchasing the game. So, like, at least it gives you a shot.
The issue I have with that, however, is that for Canadians like us,
I know, we get screwed with the shipping.
Yeah, like, I wanted to pre-order the Final Fantasy Explorers limited edition, but it would have cost me like $30 or $35 to just ship, so it would have been like $110 game, and I'm not ready to spend that on that game because it's not really a game that I absolutely must have. But it just, I understand your point. It would make it harder for people to go and get it, or at least limit the collector's edition, limit people to purchase only one per customer or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know.
In my opinion, if you make pre-orders, you should make them unlimited. And just supply the stock after.
Exactly. Like, look at me. I pre-ordered Xenoblade Chronicle X, the whatever, collector's edition, limited edition, whatever the hell it was called, from Best Buy, and then they canceled my order. Like, what the hell? That was totally ridiculous. Anyway, I don't know, man. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. And by the way, guys, I have a list of topics today, and they're all over the place, and they're outdated. They have nothing to do with games at some point, so bear with us here. It's the first of 2016, so, well, technically it's the second podcast of 2016 we've published, because a certain someone took its sweet time with the last one.
How dare you?
I just want to talk quickly. I met my parents right now. I just got here, and I had a package waiting for me when I arrived, and it was an Amiibo, and I was like, what the heck is that? I don't recall any Amiibo coming my way. And I got lucky, because when I unpacked it, it was a dark pit. And I already received it, so the seller sent me 2 dark pits.
Huh.
So if you want one, you can have one. I have an extra one.
All right, if you want. How much do you want?
I don't want anything. I'll just saying that if you want an extra amiibo, I have one for you. And this one is actually back in stock in here, but I bought the Japanese version, and I bought it for $25, shipping included. So at the time it was a good deal because it was sold out everywhere. Now it isn't. But whatever, I got two for the price of one. And do you know how they call Dark Pit in Japan?
No clue.
Black Pit. I always thought that was funny. Anyhow, if you want an extra amiibo, I'll send it your way. If not,
all right, cool.
Send it to
no, go ahead. I'm not gonna say no to free crap.
All right, first on my list, we haven't actually talked about this game in ever or a while anyway, and it's Final Fantasy VII. Square Enix has recently announced that it's going to be an episodic release. What do you think about that?
I don't know. It's funny because I think we did a Nintendo Fanboys podcast or something like that. Well, like, I don't know. Anyways, I don't know how I feel about that, man. I mean, between us and the world or whoever's listening, I'm going to whisper this into the mic. It's never coming out. All right, there we go. I honestly don't think the game is going to be coming out for a long time. The last time I heard, they said that they wanted to do at least 2016. Will be planning.
Yeah, I heard the exact same thing today, actually.
So, yeah. So, if all of 2016 is going to be planning, guys, forget about it. Like, I don't care if they're going to make it episodic or not. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're never going to get this game. It's going to be like 2018, and we'll be lucky to get part one because the game is massive. So, I mean, I get it that why they would want to do something like that and potentially flesh out other portions. But I've heard so much BS, like where they were saying, I think it was Namuro, or whatever his name is. Sorry, I'm butchering that. Was saying that, like, you know, he's got an opportunity here to tie it to, like, the Final Fantasy VII side stories and things like that, like Advent Children and Crisis Core. Okay, here, once again, what's the point? What the hell is the point? Like, by the time the game comes out, no one will remember that stuff. Like, who's played Crisis Core on their PSP? A lot of people, I'm sure. But we're talking about Final Fantasy VII. The game sold like 7.5 million copies or something ridiculous like that. Like, it just, I don't know. I think the whole thing, I mean, I'm happy that it was announced and it was cool and everything like that. And I don't want to sound like a total douchebag here, but I just don't see... It's a hard game to talk about right now because I'm of the impression that they put together a very nice trailer, and yes, we saw, like, in the updated thing, there was some, like, gameplay stuff shown and whatever, but it's one of the games where I'll believe it when they're actually like, okay, you know, we're targeting 2017, or we're targeting 2018, the first quote-unquote episode will include, say, like, all of the Midgar section, but it's, like, going to be 25 hours of content or something like that. Then we can talk about this. But until that, I really find it really hard for me to talk about this because I just don't believe the game's ever coming out, episodic content or not.
I want to first admit something. I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy fan, but in my mind, I hate it when I hear that it's massive argument. Like, who gives a crap if it's massive or not? Why are they releasing this episodic? Take
money.
All the time that you want and make it one game we want. And the thing is, the more I hear about Final Fantasy VII Remake, the more it doesn't sound like Final Fantasy VII. Like, they're making an action RPG, apparently. Like, I'm all for changing stuff, but man, Final Fantasy VII, don't change the battle system, please. And again, I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy fan, so maybe people who like Final Fantasy VII, they want to try something different. Fine, whatever, but I don't buy the massive argument. Like, I'm going to quote, like, Colin from Kind of Funny here, and, well, I'm not going to quote him, I'm just going to steal his opinion. But
quote him, damn it.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact quote, but he said... Because one of the excuses Square said for being episodic is that the game remaking Final Fantasy VII on one Blu-ray would be impossible. And let's say it is impossible. Make it on 2 Blu-rays, for Christ's sake. It's not that complicated. But the thing is, if they're saying that Final Fantasy VII is too big for 1 Blu-ray, what does that tell you about Final Fantasy 15?
Exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
all like, basically, what's funny about this game, it wasn't this, they basically announced it just to please the fans. When they announced the game, they had nothing on it. What's the funny story behind this? Apparently, the director of the game didn't even know he was the director or the producer, some crazy thing
something like that.
So this game sounds like a disaster. I'm sure, like when it is released in the year of our Lord, it will be good. I don't think they'll release a bad game, but I just don't understand why they needed to announce this before they release Final Fantasy 15.
I don't know, man.
Since we're not going to see this at the earliest, I'd say 2018, and it's going to be episodic, which I just can't seem to wrap my mind on. Like, what? Dude. How can you make an RPG like Final Fantasy VII episodic? Like, what happens when you're in episode 2? Can you go back and in sections of episode 1 and level up, or can you visit previous towns? How does it work? It's an RPG.
That's a great...
I don't understand this.
That's a great question, and I'm willing to bet if you ask them, they'll say, I don't know.
Exactly. I don't think they have any clue, and I wouldn't be surprised if they actually changed their minds on this.
Honestly.
Because their biggest... What I do agree with them is that making this episodic would let them release the game sooner. That I'll agree with.
Yeah.
But by how? Like, for what? At what cost? Like, as a consumer, I don't think this would be worth it for us. Like, I'd rather have the full game. And then again, I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy fan, so I don't care as much as maybe you or other people. But it just any RPG, I would rather have the full game than play it. Like, let's say 2 episodes per year. Like, I don't get this strategy.
There's no chance in hell you would get 2 episodes a year. But I want to go all the way back to that comment about, like, well, there's no way we could get it on 1 Blu-ray. Just a little bit of history here, people. Again, I'm going to whisper into the microphone. Final Fantasy VII was on 3 CDs. It wasn't on 1 damn CD. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Wasn't it on 4 CDs?
No, that one I think it was 3. It was the next one that started. Well, actually, I have it right here. Let's check. It's actually right above my head. Disc 1, yeah, it's 3. Okay. But that's my point. Like, that's not an argument. Like, what the hell kind of stupid crap is that? That makes no sense. So what? Back then they were like, you know what? Damn it, we can't fit this on 1 CD. Oh well, that's it. We're gonna have to release Final Fantasy VII-A, Final Fantasy VII-B, and Final Fantasy VII-C. Like, look, honestly, here, it goes back to exactly what they said. We need another year to plan for the game. They haven't even really started developing the game. So that's why I say, for me, it's really hard to talk about the episodic stuff and all of this, because I don't think the game's ever coming out, period. So it's very hard to be like, yeah, you know, the episodic nature sucks, because, yeah, of course it sucks. I want to have 1 full game. I want to be able to go back to the starting area and kill slimes, a la Dragon Quest, which obviously doesn't make any sense. But, like, honestly, the more I hear about the game, the more disappointing it's sounding. I'm the type of guy that, like, I want Dragon Quest XI to have a pure traditional turn-based system, because that's who I am. Dragon Quest X, it's a traditional turn-based system. Yeah, there's an active battle timer type of thing that you don't see. There's no meters or anything like that, but it's your turn. Cling! You know, smash the enemy in the face, and if you don't, like, take your turn, then yes, they can attack you. So it's not exactly turn-based, but you know what I mean. That, like, I'm okay with that. But leave it like that. And it's the same with Final Fantasy. By molding it and changing it, and, like, there's not even going to be materia in it. So, like, this isn't Final Fantasy. They just should have left the damn thing alone. But they did this for PR, for sure.
Yeah, I think we've covered this pretty goodly. Yeah, that's why I should never host a podcast. That's exactly why. Anyway, we're going to move on to topic of the show.
Uh-oh.
We're going to talk about PlayStation VR, which we've never done yet. And it's
Okay.
interesting because what I do on Tuesdays is basically the day I hate the most in the week because it's the day where I need to travel to. I basically drive for about 3 hours and a half to during my job. But what I do now is that I listen to podcasts because I got a very nice Bluetooth speaker for Christmas that allows me to listen to podcasts all the way, and it makes the ride a lot smoother. And basically, my two go-to podcasts are the Completely Unnecessary podcast, which is done by Ian and Pat Country, the NES Punk. I don't know if you know him. And the second podcast is PlayStation I Love You, which I always reference. I'm the biggest fanboy of that podcast, which makes no sense because I'm a Nintendo fanboy, but I love those guys. Those guys, you should. Did you actually listen to one of those podcasts?
Yeah. I like the way they do their stuff. They're crazy.
Yeah, and it's really, really entertaining, and they know their shit. So I like to listen to it. And they've been talking nonstop about the PlayStation VR. And basically, if they wouldn't have talked about it, I wouldn't even know that it's coming out. I've heard nothing of it, but that's because I'm not really knowledgeable of the industry. I don't follow really much besides talking to you and seeing Nintendo news because that's pretty much all I check. So I wanted to ask you, and that's going to be the title of our podcast, is PlayStation VR the future of gaming?
Whoa.
I'm going deep here, and I'm expecting a very good response, very deep from you.
I don't know. Okay, well, from what I know about the VR stuff as a whole, the only thing I think that's going to hold this back, well, there's a couple of things. We need content, right? So we're going to need a lot of games and stuff like that. We're going to need pornography. No. We're going to need some sort of medium to like really push this. And if it's going to be video games, if that's going to be the thing, the trigger that really sets this off, then okay, fine, so be it. But ultimately, PlayStation VR is a peripheral for the PlayStation 4. You cannot buy PlayStation VR without owning a PS4. Now, I know Kinect broke the classic tradition of saying, well, peripherals are never successful. That was tremendously successful on the Xbox 360, and there's a very good chance that the PlayStation VR could be tremendously successful for the PlayStation 4, but I don't know. I really don't know. There seems to me like a lot of hurdles involved in this. Now, I know the topic is essentially saying, like, is this the future of gaming? So, like, moving forward, theoretically, could PS5 be just a headset that has a stream box attached to it that basically feeds the signal into the headset and away you go? I don't know. I really don't know if virtual reality is the future until I try it. It's one of those things where, like the 3DS, where it's very hard to comment on until you actually get your hands on, at least to me, and see it for yourself. I really want to do that, though. I really want to jump on in and see what that's like. Because my fear with the PlayStation VR is that it's going to be like a $350 add-on to the PlayStation 4. And what's the PS4 at right now?
I have absolutely no clue, man. I believe it's $350, but it might be $400.
Okay, well, fine.
Canada here, so probably add $50 in Canada anyway.
Well, whatever. Say it's $350 US, and this thing comes out at $300. Okay, let's say. So that's $650 US dollars, assuming. I mean, I might be completely wrong. But I don't see the headset going for $100.
No.
I don't see it going for $200. I see this thing going for like $300 or more dollars.
I really don't think they can go more than $300 on this. I expect it to be around $199, but $300 might be more realistic. But there's no way they're gonna be more. It's gonna be more than $300.
Well, I don't know, man. Like I say, I haven't really followed much of this stuff. It really depends on the immersion for me. Well, like, if I can put this headset on and I am literally transported into this world, then yeah, maybe that is the future of gaming.
Before we talk about the possibilities of VR, I just want to tell my 2 cents on if this thing will be successful. I believe the VR this year and the next year will be a flop. Like, not a flop as much as the PlayStation Move as much as the PlayStation Move was. But I think that Sony is very smart. Because when the PlayStation Move was announced, they pushed it, and it made no sense. Like, pretty much everybody knew that it was going to be a disaster. Nobody bought a PS3 to play like the Wii, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're doing right now with the PlayStation VR is that they're pushing it. Yes, they are, but they're not like pushing it at the expense of the PS4, if you know what I mean. They're still, because the PS4 is a phenomenon right now, so they're making tons of money like that. And they, even what's his name, the president of Sony.
Yeah, they call him like Shuhei or something like that.
Even Shuhei, he has very realistic expectations of the VR right now. For me, for my money, the VR will be virtual reality is the future of gaming. I believe so, but in 15, 20 years, maybe let's say at the earliest 10 to 12 years. So, if you want to be ahead of the curve, you need to invest in it now, and Sony are extremely smart in doing that right now. And I think they know that when this thing comes out, it won't be an overnight success. But if them having already the technology, they'll be way ahead of everybody else when this thing starts to pick up. As long as they are ready to be patient with this. If they do like the Move and they stop supporting it after it launches, then no, they're going to get screwed right away. But I think that they learn with their mistakes. And I think that they know that this is not an overnight success. I think that they know that this will take years and years before people buy into it, but that by getting ahead of everybody else, that they're going to see a return eventually on this, and the return will be huge. That's what I think they're trying right now, but we'll see. If they're expecting this to sell right off the bat, I think they're going to be really disappointed. Like you said, because it's a peripheral, and peripheral, historically, yeah, the Kinect was a success on the 360, but now on the Xbox One, it's non-existent anymore. They're not making games for it. Nobody cares about it. So they need to be patient with this.
Exactly. Now, you see, what I'm envisioning in terms of future prospects here, how does this sound? So, PS5 or whatever is a little box the size of your phone. You connect your internet to it, and yes, I know, I don't want to get into that whole conversation, but essentially it's a streaming box. Remember that PlayStation Now service that everyone is bitching about? Well, imagine if PS5, let's just call it that for argument's sake, is this tiny little box, you connect it to your television, it's a stream box. All the games are streamed to that platform, or you download them, or whatever the case may be. It connects to your TV, but the system itself is that VR headset. Now suddenly, you have virtual reality. Like, I could see them, the next generation, almost doing like what Microsoft did in incorporating the VR. It really depends on how successful this is, because if it is truly, like, not a phenomenon, but if it's successful enough that they say, you know what, this is the future, then forget the little box, they'll just go directly to that. But I could see them doing a hybrid, like, for the next time around, because you're right, by jumping on this now, where there's Oculus, there's a few other VR headsets, by having Sony be the only one in a dedicated game space with this, I think that I agree. I think is 100% extraordinarily smart, because this allows them to play with the technology. They already have streaming technology. They pretty much cornered the market for streaming technology on consoles. There's a marriage there that they are, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one thinking of this, that in the future they could marry those two pieces of technology together And hey, look at that. You now have a VR headset, which by that point would be, in 5-10 years, whatever, would be extremely impressive and powerful. Internet speeds continue to rise. And suddenly, hey, look at that. You have all these games being streamed over the internet, no more discs, no more whatever. And I know to some people that's the end of time, but I can see it. That I can see, where you'd put on this headset, you'd have access to all this huge, massive library of games. Like, I definitely can see that, but again, it's so hard to comment on virtual reality as a concept until you really try it. Because in my brain, what I think is VR, I'm not sure if that's the same thing.
Before I just want to talk about what I heard about the VR experience, but before I just want to say that I don't think VR will ever be exclusive, however. Because for some people, they will never be able to play VR. It's the same thing with 3D on the 3DS or 3D gaming on the TV. It's not exactly the most comfortable thing, and it's something that you need to get used to. It can be disorienting, and also just you have to remember that when you're playing VR, you're not aware of what's going around you. So you could, like, I'm going to be extreme here, but somebody could be robbing your house and you wouldn't even notice. So it's not something, like, I don't think people will ever, playing a game with a controller and a TV, I think will stay forever. I'm thinking that at some point VR might be the number one choice, and that will be second hand. It's not second hand, but it will be whatever. I think you know what I mean.
Second option, basically.
But I don't think it will ever go away. That being said, from what I've heard of the VR, and it really is, I've never played it, obviously, I've never even seen it, but from what I've heard, it's something that to understand it, you need to try it for yourself. And from those that have, what they've told me, what they've told people is that it's an incredibly immersive experience, and they see it like the next evolution. And just to give you an example, and this is something Greg Miller used on the podcast, and he said that even the games that are not VR compatible, imagine if Sony would make you be able to play them on your headset. And say like a game like The Last of Us, like he used the exact same example, that how immersed you are in that game, but still you have your phone on your lap, you have people that you can see, you have your furniture that you can see. Imagine if all you could see was the game, how much more into the game you would get. And that's just for playing a regular game. Like, I just can't imagine how awesome it would be to play an actual VR game and turn around and see the environment. And I'm quite a bit perplexed of how easy it will be to control the games, but I can really see the potential there.
Well, for me, there's one demo that you need to go and look at, and it's called The Kitchen. Or something like, let me just, hold on a sec. Let's see. I think that's what it was called. Kitchen VR. Yeah, that's it. And it is absolutely crazy. I'm just going to mute this so I don't get copyright striked. The problem is that because it's a VR experience, you can't see anything. There's all kinds of videos with live reactions and stuff like that. But apparently it's a horror game made by the guys that did Resident Evil, and it's just like a 5 or 10 minute demo of you in a kitchen. And I can already imagine, like what, a serial killer's there cutting someone up or something like that. Apparently it's beyond creepy. And I can imagine that, man. Imagine if you had a headset on, like if you put your hands around your eyes, blocking your peripheral view, just that, and you're staring at your monitor. Yes, you can see, a little bit around the monitor, but just by doing that, like making binoculars, like out of your eyes, holy crap, man. Could you imagine like a Resident Evil, how freaking scary that could be?
Oh, yeah.
Like you'd never sleep again.
Pretty much.
So anyways, yeah, I mean, there's definitely potential here, but I'm dying to get my hands on one of these things. And I will tell you right now that when the PlayStation VR comes out, I will definitely purchase that. There's no question about it, because I want to experience this. I don't care if it's $300 and if it's a niche and no one buys it or whatever. It's just I've been dying to experience this since the Virtual Boy.
Me, it will depend on the lineup. I'll need something to hook me in because I'm not going to spend $200 just to try demos. But if it does have a killer app, then yeah, I'm quite curious to try this.
Well, we'll find out.
All right. Next up, I wanted to ask you, what games in 2015 do you wish you had time to play?
Okay, a couple of them. Do you want me to just do one at a time, or
No,
do you want me to
just talk, man.
Okay. Excuse me. Biggest one probably, well, two of them actually, that I really wanted to play were Metal Gear Solid 5 and Fallout 4. Yeah, 4. I really wanted to try both of those. More so Fallout 4, kind of funny, than Metal Gear Solid 5, because I don't think I'm going to like Metal Gear Solid 5. I think we talked about this before, but I don't know. I have a real strong feeling that I'm not gonna like that. But Fallout 4, I really enjoyed Fallout 3, and I really wanted to play Fallout 4, but that just hasn't happened. And let's see, I know I'm gonna forget, 500 games or whatever, but this is just sprung on me, so who cares? The Witcher 3 was another one that actually tickled my fancy. But the truth is, there were a lot of games I really wanted to invest more time in, like the Uncharted collection. I would have loved to have gone back and beaten every single one of those again. Such a great series, but no chance. There was Bloodborne. There were a couple of games on the Wii U as well that I never even got a chance. Wasn't Bayonetta 2 last year?
No, it was 2014.
Oh, Christ. Well, there you go. Look, didn't even play that one. So we could continue this into 2014. What were the big Wii U releases this year?
There wasn't that much. There was the big two, obviously, are Splatoon and Mario Maker, but there was also Yoshi's Woolly World, and the first game of the year was Kirby's Rainbow Curse, I believe it's called. I'm not sure. It's the follow-up.
Well, Yoshi's a good one. I wanted to try Yoshi. But those are mine. I mean, I don't want to list 5,000 games here. The big ones, I mean, honestly, the biggest two were Metal Gear Solid and Fallout. Those are my two big ones. But I know you're going to have 30 3DS games or something.
No, actually, I only have one 3DS game. And the funny thing is, most of these games, well, all these games I'm going to talk about, I actually own. The first two you actually sent me for Christmas, which I'm really grateful. Thank you again. And
damn you.
I really want to play. I really wanted to try them, but I know that I'll play them in 2016. So it's not that big of a deal for me. It's just that by the time I play them, there will be more games that are coming out. But I'm going to talk a bit more about that in the next topic. Those two games are, of course, Uncharted Collection. You did mention that, and I'm surprised you didn't platinum all three. I was pretty sure you were going to do that because you're such an Uncharted fanboy.
I am.
And the next one is Rise of the Tomb Raider. I really need to get on that one. I really like the original, and I know I'll get to that one eventually. Even Halo 5, now that I think about it, I still haven't played Halo 5. Man, it sucks how much time you don't have once you become a parent. Because I used to play pretty much everything that came out, but whatever. On the 3DS, there's just one game, and it's a game I bought 3 or 4 months ago, and it's Codenames Team. And I believe it's made by Intelligent Systems, the guys who did Fire Emblem, but I might be totally wrong on that, and I'm sure somebody will point it out. But it's basically some kind of hybrid between real-time strategy and RPGs with a funky story, and you can actually use Fire Emblem Amiibo to unlock their characters in the game. So it sounds like a game that I would enjoy, but for some reason I've never actually gotten around to trying it, and it sucks because I really wanted to. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about next is kind of something like I've played a game this year that I don't know why I invested so much time into it, and that game is Dragon Quest Heroes. I finally completed it a few weeks ago, and it took me close to 40 hours. And pretty much the last 25 hours felt like a giant chore. I wasn't even enjoying myself at the end, but I just wanted to complete it because I wanted to. I don't know why. Sometimes I used to play a lot more games back in the day just to complete them, even when I wasn't having any fun anymore, whether it is for achievements or stuff like that. But for some reason, I played Dragon Quest Heroes for 40 hours. And I'm not saying Dragon Quest Heroes is a bad game. It's just, I bought this game because of the Dragon Quest name. I wanted to support it. It was the first Dragon Quest game released in North America since Joker 2, I believe. And I just wanted to support it. And then I played it, and I had fun because I loved Hyrule Warriors last year. But Hyrule Warriors wasn't a 40-hour game. This is. And I don't know, why did I play that? Like, do you ever do stuff like that? Like, play video games and after a while it doesn't feel like fun, it's more like work. You do it because you want to complete it?
Yeah, sure. I can't think of an example right now off the top of my head, but yeah, there's definitely... Well, you always laugh at me with certain ones where I'm like, I'm 7 hours in, and you're like, you're playing this crap for 7 hours? And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm trying to give it a chance. But there are certain games where I'll feel like that, where I'll be like, yeah, you know, like, I'd really like to just, like, finish it off for whatever reason. With Dragon Quest Heroes, that's another one, by the way, that I have not played. That's a good example for games released this year. That's the type of game that, yeah, I would probably be exactly like that, and I have no idea why. Like, no idea why, but it's probably because it's just a franchise. Like, I love that franchise. But yeah, there are a lot of games where sometimes I'm like, I don't know, 20 hours, 25 hours in, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I'm not even enjoying this anymore. And that sucks.
Yeah,
and I don't understand why we do it.
That's something I wanted to talk about because, like, we mentioned a few games that we wish we had time to play in 2015, and the same thing will be true in 2016, but I now want to try and not play stuff when I'm not having fun anymore, and it's just, it sounds stupid, but it's something that I know I'm not the only gamer who does that, and I don't know, it's something I'm going to try to do moving along, and I just thought it was interesting to talk about that a bit, and I'm not sure if you have anything else to add.
No, not really. I mean, it's one of those topics where you're right. I mean, it's a peculiar thing, and it would be kind of interesting to hear what a lot of people have to say about that. What about you guys? Do you play anything that you're like not having fun with, but you play it anyways just to keep going? And why do you think you do that?
All right. Lastly, I thought we'd talk movies a bit. You've seen Star Wars, and now, of course, we're not going to spoil anything.
Oh, I'm going to spoil one thing for you.
Review it for me. How was it?
All right. Well, first off, I have to spoil one thing. It's so critical. You guys, this is it. It's over. There's no 20th Century Fox fanfare at the beginning of the movie. That's it. I just ruined Christmas for all of you. Now, that should come as no surprise, right? Because it's now Disney, so Disney's distributing it and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But do you know how weird it is not to have that, dun, 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 you know, before the movie actually plays? I was sitting in the cinema and I'm like, something's missing. Like, I know it seems so stupid. It really does. Like, my friends were like, God, you're a nerd. I'm like, you shut your face. And then I got back to work like a couple days later or whenever it was, and I started talking to some of the people who had seen the movie, and sure enough, they were like, yeah, that's true. They're like, there was something off with the beginning of the movie. I'm like, aha, I'm not the only one. Okay, but as for the movie, I enjoyed it. I know there's been a lot of people, there's been people who have said like, it's just a rehash of A New Hope. And yeah, I mean, sure, it does share some elements with the original trilogy, more than a few, I you know, without going into any details with anything. But I really like how it's sort of trying to make amends for the prequels. Now, if you're a giant fan of the prequels or you grew up watching the prequels, you may not actually like this, because it's much more similar, or much similar, it's much more similar to...
I've never heard of any giant fans of the prequels, even those who grew up with. Never actually...
Well, I don't know. I've never heard of any myself either.
It might be.
Know.
I'm curious.
Well, I don't know. You guys let us know. I'd be kind of curious myself to see if any of you are actually super fans of the prequels. But for me, I mean, I grew up with the original trilogy, and the original trilogy is just, it's classic, man. It's, but, I mean, they're not the best movies. They don't have the best dialogue, and, I mean, certain things are ultra cheesy, and sorry about this, I keep getting phone calls. But this one, the acting is fantastic. The dialogue isn't superb, but it's much better than I think any of the previous movies. And that was the biggest surprise of all, was that this is actually really good. You know what I mean? Like, I was expecting, a little bit of cheese, some nice special effects and things like that, but I wasn't expecting phenomenal acting. Like, you're going to love all of the characters that they introduced. And if you don't, I will be really, really surprised. And to me, this all comes down to something that I have mentioned for many years to many different people. And I don't know if I ever mentioned it on this podcast or not, so I am going to. In 1976, a book was released called Star Wars: The Adventures of Luke Skywalker, or something like that. Adventures from Luke Skywalker. I don't recall the exact same thing, whatever. And it said it was written by George Lucas. And inside it had a couple of pictures from the filming of what would become A New Hope, which was released in 1977. And many years later, it was discovered that one George Lucas did not, in fact, write the book. He hired for, I think it was $2,000, a ghostwriter, a sci-fi ghostwriter by the name of Alan Dean Foster, who some of you may know, who wrote the Star Wars novel. And in the Star Wars novel, which was based on the fourth revision, I think it was, of A New Hope screenplay, he mentions the prequels. He mentions the Clone Wars. He goes into some details about what would become the prequels 20, 30 years later, whatever. And many of the technology, the planets and things like that, Alan Dean Foster, came up with. He fleshed out the whole thing. And Lucas would essentially steal all of this for later material in the Star Wars saga. And what other people don't realize is that Lucas was surrounded by people telling him, no, I don't think that's a good idea. No, I think you should change that. No, that probably doesn't make sense. No, you should probably, etc., etc., etc. Which is why I stand by the fact that I think the original trilogy was so successful is because Lucas really didn't do much. He deserves the credit for establishing the universe. There's no one can argue about that. But moving forward, he was surrounded by people telling him, challenging him, essentially. But after Jedi came out, and let's not forget the Star Wars Holiday Special, that was released after A New Hope. Like, people don't realize, but Star Wars is not this sort of grand epic that they make it out to be. This thing has been consumed. I'm trying to think of like Christmas, It's basically, it used to be a religious holiday, and then it basically was taken over, and it's now like a commercialized holiday. Well, that's it. Star Wars is basically a giant commercial. And anyways, after the success of the original trilogy, he was basically untouchable. No one could tell him, don't do this, don't do that, don't do whatever. And we got the prequels. And if you watch the prequels and you watch a lot of the extended sequences or special features or things like that, it's pretty amazing. Lucas, as he was putting the movie together, he's like, oh God, this is not working. And like some of the producers and even the studio, you can see it in their faces when they come out, there's a clips where you see them with a rough cut, like one of the first rough cuts of the movie. It's hysterical. They're like, wow, that was terrible. Like, their face is just like, wow, that was awful. And he's trying to justify it. He's like, well, yeah, maybe we can trim some of these scenes down. Oh, yeah, but if we do that, it's not really going to tie together with this. Yeah, we'll have to figure. And it cracks me up because now that he's been removed again from the picture, and we're getting people with like Lawrence Kasdan, the guy who wrote Empire, Jedi, and Raiders of the Lost Ark, having him back involved in the Star Wars universe is just great, man, because this feels like a continuation of Jedi, which is also another huge spoiler here, not at all. The one thing with this new movie that sort of made me, I guess, sad, if you will, is after Return of the Jedi, it ends with the lovely song there, and they're all happy, and the Empire's destroyed, the Emperor's dead, Vader's dead, everyone's dead. And the movie ended, and they lived happily ever after. At least that's what the child inside me, that little brain I had, told me, that my heroes, that's the way it ended. They saved the universe and ta-da! But with this movie, you realize that, well, not exactly. And you need to go and see the movie, obviously. But that was the only thing where I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of sad, like my childhood has been crushed. And now you may speak.
And what sucks is that the movie has been pushed one more week here. So instead of seeing this Friday, I'm going to have to wait till next Friday. And that if the theater here, well, I keep calling it theater because in French we call it théâtre, but it's the cinema here, if they don't change their mind again. So hopefully I'm going to be able to see it soon because I'm tired of all the spoilers, damn it. But man, this will be special. Like, it's the first Star Wars I'll see in cinema that will be, because I don't count the prequels. I've seen them all in cinema, but like Attack of the Clones, when it played, I took a bathroom break, a 15-minute bathroom break, and I came back, and since I haven't even watched that movie again once. And the Phantom Menace I actually liked, because when I watched it, I was really, really young, and I thought the pod racing and the action scenes, I thought they were awesome, and I was really, really young. So, like, for me, that was amazing, but I haven't really watched it since. And what's the other word? Revenge of the Sith. I know that my friends thought that was a really good movie. I thought it was the best of the prequels, but I really hated it. Like, I thought like the conversation between Obi-Wan and Anakin was so borderline. Like, it's like a 5-year-old words of dialogue. I don't know. I wanted something to redeem the prequels, and I thought that they had an opportunity there, and maybe they could have fleshed that scene a bit more, but I don't know, it didn't make any sense for me. But it's just because the Anakin character was, like, the actor was so bad, and the way that the writing was done for that character was terrible. Like, I felt no empathy for him, and nothing. Even the couple didn't seem, like, believable and whatnot. But anyway.
Well, I want to tell you one thing, okay? And this won't be a spoiler because I'm not going to tell you who, I'm not going to say anything, okay? But I want to tell you the very first line, not of the scroll, nothing like that, the first spoken words of this new movie, and I remember this because I just typed it to make sure I was right, okay? You tell me what you think this says, okay? And honestly, I don't see this being a spoiler at all, and if you think it is, well, I'm sorry, guys, but I really don't see this as being a spoiler. The very first sentence that a character speaks is, "This will begin to make things right." And I had goosebumps from the very first sentence a character speaks. And to me, that was most likely added in there either by JJ or by Lawrence as a way of saying sorry, you know, that
or just
Star
maybe a
Wars...
little like screw you at Lucas, because like, did you hear what Lucas thought of the new film?
Oh yeah, man, I know.
Oh my god. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's all. I just wanted to say that, like, to me, when I heard that line, I was like clapping. I was like, thank you. And when I walked out of the movie, like I said, it's not perfect and everything like that, but I was like, this is what I wanted.
All right.
That's it.
Next, I want to talk about a movie I watched yesterday. I actually watched a kick-ass action movie that everybody told me for years to watch, and that's John Wick. Did you see that flick?
That's with Keanu Reeves, no?
Yeah.
I believe so. He's got, like, the longer hair, like, to the shoulders?
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, I've seen that.
And that's, man, I really like that movie, because what I hate about, like, Hollywood action movies is that they make stupid-ass decisions in those. And in this one, it's freaking awesome, because the guy always double taps. He makes sure that everybody is dead. He always shoots them in the head, and sometimes twice to make sure. And it's really awesome. And there's no, like, he doesn't come here and talk and gives the enemy a chance to, like, figure out a plan or backup to arrive. He just, like, the whole script is he's going around trying to kill, like, somebody's son. And when he finally has the chance, instead of, like, just saying, like, something, like, really just to rub it in, he just arrives, and while the other guy is trying to beg for his life, he just shoots him right away in the head. And that's it. And the action scenes are so intense, and what I like is that they're I hate when movies, like, film fight scenes and stuff, and they shake the camera around, or they show you, like, 300 different angles, and I don't even know what the heck is going on anymore. This they don't do that. They just show you the actual fight scene, and it's amazing. And man, it was a kick-ass movie. And the only thing I didn't like about it, and it's a very, very minor gripe, is that there is one scene where the villain clearly has a chance to take out John Wick, and instead of doing it himself, he decides, okay, I'll leave while my two henchmen try to choke him out. And of course, he gets away. And that's the only gripe I had, because I hate it when stuff like that happens, but it's the only minor gripe. But the rest of the movie is so kick-ass, and it's rare that I see an action movie that's amazing like that one. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Yeah, I may actually give that another run. I haven't seen that in a long time. Well, that's that, man.
Yep, that's about it. I wanted to talk about Batman versus Superman, but I'm guessing you need to leave right now.
No, not yet. I've got another 28 minutes.
Well, quickly, what do you think of the new trailer that was released like 2 months ago, but it's new for us because we haven't talked about it yet?
Well, okay, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, probably. I really enjoyed the new Superman movie. Like, I liked where they went and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people are looking forward to this new Superman movie. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to sound like a giant Marvel fanboy here, but I might come across like that. I don't know, man. I watched that and I was like, this isn't a Superman movie. This is Justice League, period. Like, Doomsday's in it. We've got Wonder Woman, we've got Batman, Superman, Lex Luthor, and now they just released the toy thing that I happened to see on the Swoosh, I think is what it's called. And it's Lex Luthor in his battle armor, and I'm like, I don't know, man, but you're talking about the trailer. I don't know. I find it's like all over the place. You probably loved it, but I don't know. I got really a weird feeling from that because I was like, I don't know, man.
I feel like it's going to be a shit show. It's going to be a disaster. Like, how can you introduce everybody? Like you forgot to mention that Cyborg's going to be in, Aquaman's going to be in, Flash is going to be in. It's like, what the heck? It's like if Marvel would have introduced Captain America, Hulk, Thor in a Spider-Man movie. Like, I wanted, first off, Doomsday. I've always wanted a Superman movie entirely on the Superman is Dead act, the arc where he fights Doomsday. I thought that would make a great movie, and now we're gonna get Doomsday during the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted that moment I wanted it in its own movie. Like, I love that Doomsday is going to be in there. It looks awesome, but man, there's so much more potential, and I just feel like they're trying to play catch up with Marvel, and they're trying to throw everything in once, and they want to skip like 2-3 movies, and it's like, man, I don't see how this is going to be a good movie. Like, because I have always liked comic books in which Superman faces Batman. I know people think it's an unfair fight, but with the right writer, it can really turn into an epic fight scene and an epic story. Like, those are awesome comic books when that happens. And I don't see how this will be the focus of the movie anymore. Like, I imagine they're going to fight for, like,
one scene,
and then Doomsday's going to arrive, and they're going to have to work together. Wonder Woman will show up, and they're going to be, what? And then they're going to fight him, and what the heck is gonna happen with that movie? It's just like they're trying to introduce way too many characters at a time.
I think personally that the trailer is lying to us, because if you look at the scenes, I honestly think we've seen like 3 scenes of the movie. I think it's like there's going to be the very quick introduction between the two characters. They're going to face off because Batman feels that, like he's the guy who took down one of the big Wayne towers or something. And meanwhile, Lex Luthor, it will probably be a story focused on Lex Luthor, where Lex Luthor's trying to bring Zod back. That's how somehow that creates Doomsday. He's going to probably pop up in his mechanical suit type of thing, and there's no way that they can, because the toy says that it's pretty much made of kryptonite. So there we go. Like, Superman will be powerless against it. Batman and a powerless Superman can't possibly take out all of these sorts of things going on. You've got Wonder Woman coming in, then you're going to have Aquaman, you're going to have Flash, you'll have Cyborg, and together they stop whatever is going on. The thing is, to me, the minute that happens, there's your Justice League movie. So, but
in 15 minutes, because that's going to be at the end of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. So is that it, though? Is it going to be like they have a fight, and then you see like the enemies get up together, and like Darkseid comes in or something, and then it just says like to be continued, and then it continues in Justice League, or like, I don't know, man. But the trailer, I know some of my friends are like, oh, it looks dope and all this. To me, I was like, wow, that looks like crap, man. Like, I didn't find that look good at all, because it's just too much junk going on.
Yeah, and I really hope we're wrong here. I do want DC to get their shit together, and
me too.
Because I've never considered myself a Marvel fanboy. I know you like Marvel more, and I've been raised with Marvel a lot more. But the more I've been out of comics for like 5-6 years now, but I actually found myself that I typically enjoyed the DC stories more when I read that in trades. But when it comes to movies, like Marvel has been kicking all sorts of ass, so I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't know either. I hope they don't squander this. Like there's DC has so many awesome stories.
They have the best characters. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
let's be honest. Like, as much as I think Spider-Man, Captain America, Iron Man are awesome, like, none of them come close to Superman, Batman. Maybe Spider-Man, but still, Superman and Batman are the original superheroes.
Yeah, for me, it's what Marvel has is Spider-Man. He was, like, I don't care, like, I know we could argue about this, we could talk about this forever, but truly, like, Marvel's thing, they're genius. I gotta give credit where credit's due to Marvel for this. By putting a boy in Spider-Man's suit and putting on a mask, that was absolute genius. And everyone is like, what do you mean, blah, blah, blah. But you have to understand that back then, superheroes were men, and a couple of women here and there. No one wore masks except for a few, but the thing was, the ones that did were all grown-ups. They were all, like, adults, and they always showed parts of their faces and stuff like that. But now, here comes this boy, not a man, a teenager, that has a full face covering, and that was the best move Steve Ditko ever did with that creation. That was absolute genius, and it changed the comic book industry all the way until today, because it was the first time that teenagers who were reading the magazine, and boys and girls, little boys and girls, could go, holy crap, that's me. I'm that, like, you know, that awkward kid at high school. I'm that, like, shy person or whatever. But, you know, I want to be something more. And I like Marvel's universe, but no character, to me anyway, that Marvel has created has ever been that big of, like, an influence and that brilliant of a character that was created. And I love it.
And Marvel has been successful in the cinematic universe without even using Spider-Man.
Yeah,
that's how much ahead of DC they are. Their strongest character is not even in their films.
Yeah, exactly. Now with DC, there's no question about it. DC are the company that created the superhero, period. Like, they're the guys that laid out the foundation for everything. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on and on about everything that they've done. And they also have 30 years more stories behind their belt for the legendary trinity of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. They have 30 more years of content that they can dip their toes into. I mean, not all of it obviously is good, but it's going to be really painful to see this fail. If it does fail, I will be very, very sad, because it's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. Like, I don't get what the rush is. I don't get it.
You're right, and I think we pretty much... we could go round and round on this forever, but let's end it at that with today's episode of Canadian Gamers, and I'll let you say the final words.
All right, everybody. Well, I don't have a clue how long that was. That could be like a 10-minute podcast, but most likely with us it's going to be like over an hour. And that's good. I like having over an hour podcast. And the footage you're going to see today is going to be awesome. It's depending on when this review goes
I think
up,
they'll know what it is by now.
You think so, really?
Yeah, because they would have watched to be where we are now. It's funny when you say that, because this is the end of the podcast. People who...
I know. But what I mean is, wait a sec, hold on. What I'm getting at is the videos that they're looking at right now, I should not have spoken about this anywhere else on the channel yet. So the video footage that you're seeing here is most likely going to spoil the future reviews I have coming out starting on January 20th. That's what I was getting at.
There you go.
So I'm going to leave it at that. Obviously, everybody has watched it now, so they know what's coming. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure the podcast is going to be up before January 20th because I'm putting it up right now. All right, so that's it. Thank you all for watching, and as Steven coined the phrase many, many moons ago, we will see you all in the next video.